Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking all about this month's side event and what went wrong with it. I'm only making this video because far too many people have either asked me to make a video about this side event or have made lots of negative comments about it. And judging by the situation on Kabam forums, there aren't too many people outside of like 3 loyal Kabam defense musketeers on forums that are actually defending the side event. And the problem with this side event in particular is that it has no target audience, because they had increased difficulty level of their most difficult quests, and that unfortunately has led to a situation where people who can do this event relatively effortlessly don't care for it at all, because it hardly offers anything worthwhile in terms of endgame resources. And I'm not saying that these monthly side events necessarily should, but the point is that only people who can clear this easily at large are people who don't care about 10 or 15,000 5-star shards too much, or 1,000 6-star shards, or 20 signature. Well, okay, signature stones is a neat addition, but that's about only thing that they possibly would care about this event. And the people who do, the people who have looked at the rewards and find them to be relevant and important for their account progression, let's say like my mini account, the rewards are awesome for my mini account who's uncollected. It's probably gonna get Cavalier within the month, and yeah, these rewards will be helpful, and I'll snag them up. The problem is the snagging part though, because any account who isn't like full with maxed out 5 stars and rank 2 and rank 3 6 stars will have to spend either a lot of time and a lot of skill, or quite few resources to actually complete those epic level difficulty quests, because the fights there can be much more difficult than an average event quest. And what I mean by that is this account that I'm currently playing on is about 40 something days old. So I basically got to play through last 2 weeks of the Storm and Sorcerer Supreme event quest, and then last month Rifts. Point being is, at day 12 I was actually able to explore the hardest difficulty, as in like the uncollected difficulty, I believe, because I had barely freshly gotten uncollected, and I was able to do that event with only like rank 3 4 stars, or maybe 1 rank 4 4-star or something like that. It wasn't easy, but I was able to squeeze through it. And then next month obviously this account progressed slightly further, and I didn't have particular problem dealing with rifts using like rank 4 4-stars and stuff like that. And now at this point, when I have rank 4 Aegon, not fully leveled up, but still rank 4 duped Aegon, rank 3 Nebula, and my roster has increased significantly, I struggle more than ever. So that immediately automatically means the difficulty level has gone up, not just by like a single level, but by a lot. With previous month's side events, I was able to squeeze through with quite a bit of effort using like 334 stars. Then this is kind of touch and go with a 440 5-star that I have, which is Aegon, which is like very versatile champion. And that is kind of like a major shift, because immediately as soon as you increase difficulty level by that high amount of margin, kind of like the target audience for these events immediately changes. The problem is that rewards didn't change with them, and this kind of leads me to kind of like the next point that I'm going to try and make, is because I personally believe that it's probably time for next level of difficulty in side events that is in fact actually targeted for quality level players, or players with X amount of 5 stars or whatever. Basically a difficulty above this where they can make it as hard as they want, so long as they make it worthwhile. Because Kabam Mike has clearly stated this event isn't necessarily intended for quality difficulty level players. Well, here's the problem then. What are they supposed to do? Like, obviously, like, whether you intend to release this monthly side event quest for quality level players or not, fact of the matter is that you do have quality level players who want new content, and the difficulties here already, arguably the epic fights, some of them are at Act 6 level, which are easily kind of like quality level fights. And I'm not talking Act 6.3 and 4 and stuff like that, but definitely there are plenty of fights in 6.1 that would be far easier than the fights that we have here on the epic difficulty of the monthly event quest, which quote unquote isn't meant for endgame players, but it's tuned to be. It's designed to be. It's a very challenging set of fights if you do not have well developed and established roster. And the second bit is obviously because this event is presented as a daily grind, which does not necessarily have to be daily grind. That is kind of like a saving grace for it, because if you had to actively and religiously do this daily, then I believe majority of the people would just kind of abandon it. But the fact that you can just kind of go it in a couple of goes, like, I don't know, do it once a week, do it 7 times in a row, will inevitably mean that more people who are in fact struggling with it will get even more and more frustrated, because they're going to have to go and sit down and kind of like walk through it many times. And I am perfectly within reason to assume that there will be a lot of people who typically breeze through these events, but will have to use a lot of revives and resources, which again kind of defeats the purpose of this Modok's Hotel Modok giving us revives and giving us health potions, if a lot of them, probably for most people, are going to end up just being used up in here. So when it comes to actual things that they are offering in here, they're not half bad. The rewards as such as they are, especially after that buff for Cavalier players, are relatively somewhat on par with whatever we have gotten normally. The problem is that it just isn't cutting it anymore. And now I think the outrage was caused by the fact that difficulty was increased a bit to match the better developed rosters, where people who typically walk through a side event quest effortlessly have to put in an effort. If you want people to put in an effort, then you need to reward the said effort better. So yeah, that is what I think about this whole Hotel Modok situation. Obviously, another thing definitely to note is the side events, where that, again, I do not like these daily solo events for Hotel Modok at all whatsoever, and the reason behind it is that pretty much the only saving grace this Hotel Modok or Modok's Island or whatever it's called had was the fact that you do not necessarily have to log in every day and complete an objective and do something every day, that you could put it further for when you have more time or whatever. The problem with that is that you have these solo events that award a reasonable amount of these coins that is effectively the objective for the month to acquire. And with that, it means that you kind of still have this additional thing that you need to follow daily. And this daily event thing, combined with the dual targets, combined with how difficult the Modok slabs are, just make this event seem extremely overwhelming when it comes to the amount of effort you have to put in, but it's nowhere near as rewarding proportionally to the said effort as the previous month's events have been, and therefore it creates the impression that the rewards are so far worse. No, the rewards are more or less in line with whatever else we have had, which in my opinion is obviously outdated and not good enough. The real problem is that this event will take more time than previous month events did, and it will take more effort, and more people will use items, and more people will get frustrated, and there will be no additional reward for it. And again, all in all, I am not opposed to having hard monthly side events. The problem is when you do increase the difficulty, but you do not improve the rewards that you're able to get. And unfortunately, this once again just kind of like proves that Kabam is out of touch. And speaking of out of touch, obviously we have these greater solo crystal shards, which effectively are meaningless. Like, they just mean nothing to vast majority of the people because they're so bad, they're so outdated, and yeah, it's absolutely meaningless. And they had done similar events in past where they actually rewarded either revives or some units or energy refills, or basically all of these milestones kind of matched what we have in our regular daily events. And I think somebody did the math. Effectively, that means that player base quote unquote feels owed about 750 units plus some revives and stuff, because that is what you're used to getting. Now, obviously, there's a group of people who are going to say that you should be happy Kabam's giving you anything, but that's not quite true, though, because they're not giving you anything at all here. You need to go and work and earn for it. Unfortunately, more appropriate kind of comparison would be that Kabam has decided in 2020 that we deserve a pay cut for increased amount of effort all of a sudden, and that definitely, I think, is the underlying cause of why Hotel Modok is well received as poorly by the community. And I think it's a critical kind of failure in Kabam and whatever they are doing, because it just again showcases how far they are out of touch when it comes to designing their own game, creating difficulty levels. Currently, like this month's side event is definitely a perfect example of creating overtuned hard event that's quote unquote not meant for endgame players, but or Cavalier players, but those are the only players who can reasonably, like, relatively easily do this event. Any other player who wants the rewards will struggle so much to get through it and be angry and gonna go and complain about it. And people who can do this event easily will still complain about it because there's nothing worth really fighting for or spending time. Yes, there are some nice tidbits which you probably will try to acquire, like revives, for instance. Revives have an actual unit value, so everybody can use revives, but in a sense, currently for, like, quote unquote end game players or more advanced players, there are only like 4 or 5 items in the game that matter, which would be like 5-star signature stones to a degree, not too much, 6-star signature stones, tier 5 class catalyst, and 6-star shards. And 6-star shards are pretty much what we have, 1500 6-star shards, I believe, for an entire month. That's like 1/10 of a feature crystal. The laughable amount for the effort put in. Okay, we're gonna get now a couple of 5-star crystals, which is kind of okay, but it's just nowhere near where the game should be, where the game accounts are right now. And this again extremely highlights how far Kabam are out of actual kind of like economy and where it should be headed, and they're just forcefully slowing everybody down, because anybody who doesn't whale out on Cavalier crystals has an absolute snail pace of acquiring 6 stars, which is one of the core things that has to change and has to change immediately. Now, yes, Kabam uses the excuse that this content isn't designed for endgame players, even though it clearly is because of the difficulty level, but they're just unwilling to hand out the resources that they can make the most money off, which is, yeah, again, quite evident in this type of side event. And honestly, I don't want to kind of like get too negative, but I have pretty much nothing positive to say of this kind of game design, because they have increased the amount of time that people have spent on it. They have increased the difficulty, they have increased the amount of resources people have to spend on it, and they have still managed to make it tedious and kind of like daily grind because of these side events where you need to use specific class daily to kind of like maximize your gain. So this event kind of pretty much ticks in all the wrong boxes for a very kind of bad event. Only good thing about this month's side event realistically is the fact that it doesn't cost energy in those Modok Islands. So that's like the only thing that they have done right, in my opinion. Because yeah, it's long, it's boring, it's grindy, it's harder than regular events, and with that it lost majority of its regular audience, because people who care for it will struggle to do it, and people who don't struggle to do it don't really care for rewards. So that is kind of like the bottom conclusion, and unfortunately it's a very bad event. Even with those increased buff rewards for Cavalier players, it's just not quite good. Not quite good enough, I would say. But yeah, that will do for today. Let me know what you guys think about Hotel Modok. Are you guys excited? How did you guys do? Will you guys be doing it daily, or will you guys be doing it in like every week or every 2 weeks or whatever else, or are you just gonna be flat out ignoring it? I think on my main account personally, I might do like a few of them just to grab some potions and revives and stuff like that, but that's about it. I don't have particularly big interest in anything else they're offering. But yeah, that will do for this video. If you manage to stay through it, then hey, here is Baby Yoda, and yeah, I'll catch you guys soon. See ya.